Millions of people struggle with anxiety, and when looking for solutions to how to get rid of your anxiety, you probably only found two options: talk therapy or medications. But if you're like many out there wondering maybe there's something different that doesn't involve taking a harmful medication or maybe an ineffective one, let me tell you that there is another solution out there. If you struggle with anxiety, you need to look at three key areas in the brain. It's important to address these areas in a specific order because the brain builds itself from the bottom up and then it regulates everything top down. So if you want to get the best results, make sure you watch until the end of the video so you don't miss any of the steps. Hey, I'm Dr. Sam McDonald. I'm a brain health expert, and this channel is dedicated to helping you rewire your brain so that you can live a better life. If you love this content, make sure to like and subscribe so you get the notifications for each week's new video. The first thing you want to look at are what are called primitive reflexes. Primitive reflexes are the foundation of your brain and your nervous system. These are your basic programs that you were born with. They're kind of like the training wheels for the brain. Their whole job in your first year of life is to get you up and walking. After that point, these reflexes go away because the brain has developed enough to shut them off and basically upgrade the software to the next level. So the specific reflex that you need to look at when it comes to anxiety is this thing called a Moro reflex. So the Moro reflex is the foundation for the fight or flight or the defense mode part of your nervous system. And if it's still present, it still can be triggering that fight or flight system to be turning on again and again and again. It's kind of like having a faulty wire going to your alarm system, and it's constantly triggering that alarm system to go on and go on and go on, instead of actually there being a threat or something there to worry about. So you need to make sure you integrate this reflex first before you do anything else, because it's the foundation. The brain builds itself from the bottom up and then regulates top down. So you have to integrate this first before you can look at really addressing anything else. The second area you want to look at is your balance. So in a previous video, I spoke about how balance is really tied into social anxiety. So please go check out that video after you watch this one. But in terms of balance, it's really made up of three key areas in your body. It's made up of your feet, it's made up of your eyes, and it's made up of your inner ears. All those come together to create the balance for you to be able to stand up on your own 2 feet and walk around. Now, when it comes to anxiety, your feet play a really big role in this because your feet connect up into this back part of your brain here called your parietal lobe. That's your map of your body. And your feet have to connect up into that part of your brain because when you're walking and moving and getting stimulation from your feet and your toes and everything else, you're sending information up to that part of the brain, which then connects up to the front part of your brain right above your eyebrows called your frontal lobe. Now, your frontal lobe is really responsible for shutting off that stress response in your body. That's one of its main jobs. And when you're not getting good, adequate stimulation from the parietal lobe up to the frontal lobe, it can't do its job. So you got to make sure that you're up and walking on your feet and moving around and your balance is really, really good. Otherwise, that parietal lobe is not going to be getting adequate stimulation to fire into the front part of the brain. On top of that, if you don't have good tracking ability in your eyes, or if your balance in your inner ears is really poor, that's also going to start to activate that stress response in your brain because it's a defensive mechanism. Think about this. If you have really poor balance, your brain's going to make the muscles in your neck and your low back really tense. It's going to do that because it says, look, if I fall, I don't want to break my neck or my low back because then I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm not going to be able to get away from a danger if there's there. So you have to make sure that your balance is really good. Otherwise, it's going to activate that stress response and it's going to give you that anxious feeling. So the last part I want to talk about is the frontal lobe, and specifically I want to talk about the right frontal lobe. So this is very oversimplified, but for basic understanding, you have the left half of the brain is like the go side, and the right half of the brain is like the brake pedal side. So you have the gas pedal, you have the brake pedal. So go and stop. And when it comes to anxiety, one of the biggest complaints that people have are racing thoughts, right? You just have one thought that leads to another, that leads to another. We call this the what if game because it's just one thought, what if I don't make it on time to this job interview? Well, then I won't be able to get a job. And what if then I'm not able to pay my rent? What if I'm then homeless? And what if I can't, get groceries to feed myself? Whatever the thought path may lead you down. That's what a lot of people struggle with when it comes to anxiety. They just can't shut their brain off. And that's really an overactive left side of the brain where the right side doesn't have the mechanisms to come in and shut that off. So when it comes to the frontal lobes, you have to have both sides functioning at equal levels so that you can have these necessary thoughts that driven go go out and get it type of reward seeking behavior, but at the same time you also have to have the brake pedal to stop to be able to shut that off too, so you don't end up in this spiral where you're just leading from one anxious thought to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. So on that note, you should be healthy by choice, not by chance, and for that reason I will see you on the next video.